whatever happened, I don't know if I don't know if you've ever spoken about this, so maybe I'm beating a dead horse here, but whatever happened with you and Ethan, like, because you guys had that show, The Leftovers, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit. I'm sure he'll see this clip and get like really mad, but honestly, I think we just had like some, at the time, what I thought were minor disagreements, and I never really like paid attention to what he was saying
About content.
No, about Israel.
Okay,
about Israel Palestine.
Yeah.
In the aftermath of October 7. But he'd always been like very pro Palestine.
But you guys stopped way before that.
No, we stopped.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What the
we
fuck?
stopped like around October. That's when we were like, we're not doing Leftovers anymore.
Okay.
So October 2023 is like, I think, one of the last episodes we did.
Yeah. And for people who don't remember, I thought it was actually a constructive conversation. When it happened at the time, Ethan sounded unhinged, and he sounded like he was coming at it from the perspective of a guy who was, a lot more loyal to, I don't know, the Zionist project than I would be. But he was crying. He was emotional. He seemed to show some level of humanity. And I was like, you know what? Maybe they'll take a break for a little bit, and Ethan will come to his senses, and he'll really grow from this. And I thought that Hasan actually did an incredible job in that exchange of giving Ethan the opportunity to change his worldview and grow and have a more empathetic attitude. And when Ethan just doubled down and ran straight towards, I'm going to be a genocide apologist, and I'm going to slander Hasan and call him and everyone who associates with him a terrorist, I think that was the final nail in the coffin.
And initially, I think there was a lot of people that were very mad at Ethan, both in my community and also, more importantly, his own community, because he's very progressive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that he cultivated in his audience were like not really with his takes. Like, they didn't really like it.
Yeah.
And I think because there was also anti-Semitism rising at the time, like, he saw that as a major point of concern, understandable. And I assume, I can't know what's in his mind, but I assume that he was like making the assertion that these people that were mad at him all the time weren't mad because they were seeing clips and making up their own minds, but mad for some other reason, either because they were anti-Semitic or because like someone was priming them to be mad at him. And since our communities had merged at that time because of Leftovers to a certain degree, I think he thought that like my takes were what was causing people to like hate him for.
And I wanted to get your perspective on that specifically, Gavin, because Hasan's pretty charitable when he says their communities merged. I feel like Hasan kind of subsumed Ethan's community. I think that a lot of the more...
Well, that's why Ethan's so pissed, yeah.
Okay, I was going to say, do you think that's really what it is? Do you think even more so than the geopolitical situation, it's like almost like Ethan used that as a way of justifying his beef with Hasan to himself? I just, it seems so weird to sit back and just go from being a progressive guy to championing, defending, and trying to justify all of these obscene atrocities that we're all watching, and that is just completely unacceptable to anybody with a human soul. And I don't know.
And it goes beyond that too. Like, Ethan has literally tried to cancel people for making jokes about Sabra hummus. Remember that one like lady on Twitch that he was like, she said that you should boycott eating Sabra hummus, and that's fucking anti-Semitic and shit. So I think it actually goes even beyond Hasan. I think his audience just outright rejects this sort of tone policing when it comes to comedy that Ethan now wants to engage in after being a noted purveyor, a noted monger of edgy comedy for his entire fucking career. And then all of a sudden we can't make jokes about Sabra hummus, or we can't giggle at an inappropriate time. All of a sudden you're sitting over here like judging people like some freaking SJW for like laughing at a serious topic. Right? When you had a million events in your own career that could have resulted in cancellation. It's crazy.
Yeah.
For what he was saying. And because it's such a touchy subject for a lot of people for understandable reasons, I mean, people are very black and white. And when they hear Ethan say something that, like, you know, Joe Biden has said about Israel, Palestine, and they don't investigate it any further, yeah, of course they're going to be like, oh, you're pro-Israel and you're hiding it. You know what I mean? That's like the immediate assertion. And for a year after that, I didn't really investigate what his perspective was. We had a conversation, like last one we had was on my channel, where we had a back and forth and we had some disagreements, but we were on good terms for a year after that, pretty much. And then recently, I forget what it was. I think it was after Israel like decided to invade Lebanon, where I was talking about Hezbollah, which is the militant group in Lebanon. It's the Shia militant group. It's a part of the parliament as well. It's classified by the American government as a terror state terrorist organization. Not every country considers them to be a state terrorist organization, and they're a part of the Lebanese parliament ultimately, right? Like they're a political party.
Yeah.
And you cannot overstate the hubris and the exceptionalism and the double standard of not calling the Republican or Democratic Party a terrorist party as well, if you're going to call other rebel groups around the world terror. Like, think about the untold destruction that's been caused by either of the American duopolies.
And Israel itself.
Exactly. Like, they're all terrorists. At that point, if you're going to use that as your barometer for what is a terrorist state, then we're all terrorists.
100%.
And they're effectively the standing military of Lebanon.
You could even
but
say
it
that
is
about Hamas, right? Isn't Hamas like technically like the governing body of Palestine?
Oh yeah,
100%
it is.
Military wing. I mean, that's really no. I mean, you can call them all terrorists, or you can call none of them terrorists, but it's one or the other, kind of.
Deadass.
Controversial, ultimately, even within Lebanon. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said something like, I don't have any problems with Hezbollah in terms of like their resistance to the state of Israel. I think like this isn't about their sectarian politics, or this isn't about like their internal affairs. Like I don't give a
right,
because that's not the reason why Israel is bombing Lebanon. They're bombing Lebanon because Hezbollah is retaliating against Israel for what Israel's doing in Gaza.
Right.
And he saw that, and I think that was what triggered him into like that was a trigger point where he was like, you're a radical, and then it spiraled out of control. I think
that Hasan is being a little bit too charitable here. Like, let's be honest, bro. This guy has been straight up fucking slandering you, defaming you, libeling you, whatever word you want to use them all. That's what he's been up to in an unhinged meltdown, lashing out in all directions at truth, at justice, at people that give a fuck about genocide. It's crazy. This is not some misunderstanding. And I understand Hasan's approach. He doesn't want to make the situation even worse. He doesn't want to like put salt on the wound. He's already thoroughly won this war. He's already thoroughly vanquished Ethan. And, at one point, Ethan was someone he considered a friend. So it might be emotional for him, perhaps. But, dude, this is outrageous. This person is a straight up villain. They are literally mischaracterizing you, your commentary, your community, everything you stand for the attempt to make a quick buck off of your fucking likeness so you can put your fucking face in a thumbnail and get a few people to watch him so you can, tear you down and act like you're something you're not.
It's crazy. And one of the things that you've pointed out a lot on the show that the right wing does a lot better than the left wing is that they don't tolerate that kind of shit. If you go after one of them, you're going to hear from them, and they're not going to pretend that they're above it to clear their name. And one of the things that the left needs to implement is not just the ability to disagree, but the ability to call something horseshit. Right? When Ethan goes out there and he tries to pretend that he also represents the left, it's like, no, you fucking don't, dude. No. When David Pakman goes out there and he shakes hands with Joe Biden, the murderer of all murderers in this country right now, yeah, Donald Trump hasn't taken office yet. This is the baby killer in chief right now. You're going to launder that guy's reputation. You're going to do that. Yeah, I'm sorry. But we have to talk about how you are not the left. You are not the resistance. You are a Republican. Okay, you just don't know it. And since the Republican Party is a death cult right now, you get to call yourself a Democrat. Okay, what we have to do is we have to do a better job of asking and demanding. High-profile leftists like Hasan Piker draw a line in the fucking sand and say, no, it's not about being polite. It's about saying Ethan is so wrong, and he has an audience of people who are so young and impressionable that when he feeds them this bullshit, it's hurtful to the left. It is hurtful to humanity, and it is a step back for the cause for a free Palestine if we don't correct it.
Yeah, 100%. And also, like, there's a fucking genocide going on. Again, imagine pearl clutching about jokes about hummus and shit like that.
Yeah.
When there's a fucking genocide going on, bro. Like, obviously we care deeply about anti-Semitism. We've called out idiots like Jake Shields. We've called out idiots like Candace Owens, Jackson Hinkle,
Bilzerian.
Nick Fuentes, Bilzerian, all these fucking idiots. Of course, it's an issue. And one of the biggest things that we do have to stand up against as defenders of the Palestinian cause is anyone using that as an excuse to actually be genuinely anti-Semitic. We have no fucking tolerance for it, nor should anyone. If Hasan was being anti-Semitic, people would side with Ethan. That's what I want everyone to understand here. Again, viewers of YouTube, the people watching this stream right now, you're not just programmed by the content creators you watch. I think I'm pretty, I think most people would agree there. The people watching YouTube, they have their own minds. They come to their own conclusions. They are not programmed by people that have YouTube channels, whether that's us or Hasan or whatever. If Hasan was actually being anti-Semitic, they would agree with Ethan, but he's not. And they see through Ethan's lies and they see what he's doing. They see that it's dishonest and they don't want to participate in it, because who wants to do that? Who wants to participate in the tearing down and the slandering of an innocent person? It's ridiculous. And I mean, Hasan is lucky because he's a likable guy. He's charismatic and he already has a big following that's willing to defend him, right? So it's a little bit harder to tear down someone who's already more popular, more charismatic than you, whatever. But again, it's like, you really thought you were going to win that war based on out of context clips and jokes that you want to pearl clutch about? Like, you really thought you were going to win that war against Hasan?
Numerous streams at that point, like for months and months on end, all the way up until the election, where he was like trying to get me deplatformed.
This is what I was saying. That's why we spoke about being censored more.
Yeah,
for you, because I saw that on like something with Twitch and people then blaming you for like ad revenue and like
that was another community that also has been always up my. This is Destiny's community. And they've always done the concern trolling where they're like he'll say some on him all the time. Like he's debated child pornography. You know what I mean? Like he's debated
how do you debate
ethical
that?
CP. I don't know, but he's done it anyway. Like
right.
You guys don't have any. They don't have any boundaries, right? But then they will so very easily portray themselves like liberals or a concern, and they do that very well. So they started this like mass emailing campaign in their Discord to like openly, actively brigade everywhere and take like a year's worth of clips that they had clipped out of context for one whole year. Like Israel starts bombing Gaza and these motherfuckers are like, all right, what's Hasan saying? Let's start clipping.
Yeah.
And they had it on a website called like HamasAbi. They're calling me like HamasAbi.
Yeah.
Bro, okay. Obviously racist, but otherwise kind of a banger. I'm sorry. I would make shirts that called myself. I'm sorry, I would. If you're going to label me that, I'm sorry. But what do we do here at the Casa del Vanguard? We make merch.
And they just had all these clips and they were like they spent spam emails to like advertisers. Like I went to USC because they wanted me to speak at the college.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, I'll do it. Why not? They sent 27,000 emails to USC to try to get me and not speak at USC. And it's really interesting because like
that is the kind of beta liberal bullshit that I cannot fucking stand. And it's why I don't have any respect for Destiny's community. It's like, bro, go and debate them and be a debate, bro, or shut the fuck up, but don't cry to their moms.
Yeah, trying to get them canceled by calling the manager at Twitch and fucking USC or wherever he was going to speak. That's so stupid.
I saw the email that they were spamming. And the email was like, he got banned off Twitch for saying a racial slur, which is true.
Cracker.
I did.
What was the slur?
Cracker.
Oh.
Every white person's reaction ever. Oh, what the fuck did you say? Oh, well.
But they didn't put that in the email. So they were trying to make it seem like I was this like crazy racist guy, right? And, it's like, it's a fairly sophisticated mass brigading campaign. And it didn't really work, but some advertisers were like, well, we don't want to be associated with anything that's controversial. And but at the time they were like claiming that, every advertiser is pulling out of Twitch. Twitch is having an adpocalypse. And Ethan at that same time was also like, kind of egging that on a little bit,
Yeah.
where he was like, these guys are really anti-Semitic. They're really radical. They're anti-American scum. That
But I
sort
don't
of
understand
stuff.
this anti-Semitic conversation is like if you just say anything that's against what they're doing in Israel, just you're anti-Semitic.
Yeah, I mean, there's more nuance to it than that. Because, like,
That's what it from my perspective from the outside, it's what it
Yeah.
looks like.
That is exactly what it is.
I was gonna say this is what normies see when they, listen to somebody like Destiny. Or I remember there was that guy Lonerbox that wanted to debate us. I was like, bro, if you want to call me up on the phone and lecture me about like your real concerns about anti-Semitism, like here's my phone number. But I don't have any interest in debating like some insane Israel sim on like for content, because
No.
I just don't think it's not worth it to publicly do that.
Yeah, no, 100% not. And obviously, like, there is anti-Semitism that just average American Jews experience or around the world, like on a personal level, like this happens. I remember when Zach and I were growing up, there was a literal terrorist attack at a Jewish community center where it got shot up by some unhinged anti-Semite. But that person wasn't criticizing Israel, right? They were a deranged, conspiracy brained person who hated Jewish people because of conspiracies and propaganda, right? That is totally different than a substantive criticism of a foreign government that we happen to be funding and enabling as they commit a savage, brutal genocide on a helpless population of innocents. It's just not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. It simply isn't. And I'm sorry, but whatever country was doing it, like say Nazi Germany was a thing now in the internet era. Guess what? There would be people making memes about Nazis and making insensitive jokes about German people. Why? Because one of the only ways you can actually achieve some level of catharsis in the face of such a horrific event is humor, memes. So sorry that the country doing the genocide happens to be like rooted in Jewish fucking traditions or whatever. But guess what? It could be any country, and people would be making jokes about it, would be, making memes, trying to cope with the horrific situation by mocking these monsters. But again, it's not our fault that they're fucking Jewish. It's not our fault that they're using Judaism as a shield against criticism as they commit horrific atrocities.
100%.
When I see stuff,
I understand that. I mean, that's like the average position at this point. And I think that, yes, it is, for the longest time, Israel, both positively and negatively, has been associated with Judaism. It's not a proper conflation. It's false. Saudi Arabia, it does not represent like the entirety of Islam, and Israel does not represent the entirety of Judaism.
right.
But if every single person that goes on television is saying like, this is the Jewish nation, like, how dare you, you're being anti-Semitic, then yeah, of course people go, okay, maybe it is. Maybe everything they're doing for Judaism, and all the Jews love this, when it's not the case.
Right.
I mean, there's like a classic old Jewish saying, it's like 2 Jews, 3 arguments, where it's like there's no full-blown, comprehensive, monolithic understanding of what Israel is and what it's supposed to be among American Jews, especially. That's not like a real collective ideal at all.
There's not a collective ideal amongst goddamn thing in America. That's the whole idea, right? And one of the, I don't know, problems with this whole like you're anti-Semitic if you attack Israel thing is we constantly criticize Saudi Arabia, constantly, right? But we do so in a way that's not Islamophobic. I'm perfectly happy to talk about the real blatant, crazy, deranged Islamophobes like our upcoming president, Donald Trump, who a lot of people pretend or forget did a literal fucking Muslim ban. Now, it was struck down by the court system because it was blatantly illegal, but he was like, yeah, I want a ban on travel to the United States from Muslim majority countries. Now, does that mean I'm not ever going to criticize Saudi Arabia again? No, fucking Saudi Arabia is a terrible country. They're run by a psychopath prince who's never been told no a day in his life. They're producing all kinds of oil money for him and his family, and he's going to go and he's going to continue to rule with an iron fist and be a monarch and kill Yemenis unless we stop him. But do you see how nobody makes the case that that criticism is Islamophobic, but they would say that a similar character, like if you call Benjamin Netanyahu Hitler, they're like, you're anti-Semitic. Like, stop that.
But it's presented that way. It's presented that way by people who hate Jews, who want to say, fuck Israel, they're doing this for Jews. This is how Jews are. And it's also being said by people who are pro-Israel and also themselves Jewish, or just pro-Israel and pro-Jewish. Like Jake Tapper says that. Like, I don't think Jake Tapper is secretly a neo-Nazi or something, but he's saying that because it's been a very apt way to deflect criticism, because nobody wants to be offensive, especially in progressive circles. You don't want to be offensive. You don't want to be a mean person. You don't want to offend people. You don't want to be called an anti-Semite. So you're like, whoa, okay, I didn't realize it was like that. It's usually just a way to stop the conversation dead in its tracks.
But so that's interesting though. That's like an interesting point where like why would certain conversations need to be just killed dead in their tracks?
Well, because I mean, it's kindness first and foremost. It's because people don't want to be a fucking asshole. I don't want to be an asshole, even though.
And that's what's crazy, guys. We can cut it there because they're about to switch into the H-1B visa argument, or not argument, just discussion, the argument that's happening online. But the reality is, the reason people like Ethan Klein get away with this is exactly what Hasan Piker says. It's kindness. It's the fact that nobody on the left wants to be an anti-Semite. Nobody wants to make anybody feel bad about their religion or their culture. We want people to feel celebrated because of that. We want people to feel proud of that, right? So when somebody says, hey, that feels anti-Semitic to me, as a good leftist, you're going to be like, wait, well, I didn't mean to do that. Let me go ahead and revisit my actions right there. And then as you're doing that, it allows them to move the goalpost, right? And get away with more and more and more. And frankly, I'm at the end of my rope. I don't give a fuck. Call me whatever the fuck you want. I know it's in my heart. I know it's not in my heart. You know what I'm saying? So you have to call a spade a spade. But that was about the end of their conversation when it comes to H3. Gavin, did you want to play any more?
No, I think that was a great explanation from Hasan. I think he was very charitable, a little bit more than I would have been. But I do also think he was genuinely friends with this person at one point. So maybe he doesn't just view him as like this enemy that has to be destroyed, but someone that should be understood, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which is, admirable. I don't know if I would have. I mean, I can't imagine, bro. Like, it's hard to even imagine. Like, we've never done a show with someone like that. We've only ever done a show with each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, just imagine someone that you literally shared conversations and had a business with and did this joint operation together. A year or two later, just making up the most insane things, slandering you in comical ways. Like, I mean, I'm sure on one hand, it feels nice to have completely won that battle and vanquished Ethan, but also, like, it's sad.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir.